Hello, and welcome to a new edition of Education is the Best Medicine. And thanks for watching, and uh, always technicals, right? Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I know it's been a very stressful, enlightening, and hopefully understanding of what's happening and what will happen. And so a lot of you folks kind of weren't clear about when I was talking about 1619 and that kind of thing. But we'll talk about that. And first of all, I want to say good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Education is the Best Medicine. We are going to continue to move forward. I'm going to continue to discuss the things that I think are relevant as they intersect with, health and the current standard of things. I think that first of all, I want to say good afternoon to everyone again, and I want to thank my son's girlfriend, partner, Portia, for just being with him as he tries to put together. If anyone knows me, they know I'm about family. I love my son. I love my grandchildren. And also the loss of my oldest grandchild has always had a profound effect on me. And that's why I do this show now as a memory to her to keep it moving. She was a very beautiful woman and gave me a great grandchild, Kaylee, who just bought a phone for her. Man, I tell you, these phones are expensive. But anyway, she's her and there's 3 other grandchildren that are girls that I just the future is about them, not about me. I want to also thank Dr. Lenore, blackdoctors.org, for we're getting ready to embark on another media venture, and I'm going to be co-hosting with him in his weekly radio video show podcast. And so I'm looking forward to that. And he's over in, I think he's in Texas now, doing some meeting with some Genentech folk. He's an allergist, and so they're talking about some new stuff that's going on. And I wish him well out there, and we'll talk when he gets back. And Mrs. Lenore, my best out to her also. Want to say thank you. There's a Feed the Bay Laugh Fest. It's going to be happening November the 16th. The doors open at 6. And times from 6 to 7. Again, it's benefiting the Alameda Food Bank. Mario Hodge, hosted by Rudy Ortiz. Also Tristan Johnson, Jerry Law, Shay Sugar, Jeremy Curry, Frank Marcos, and the DJ would be Billy Ball. It's at the Henry J. Kaiser Center for the Arts, 10th Street. Please, if you can, if not, go donate to the food bank as we move all our folks that are homeless off of the street. They're going to be folks that need to be fed, and it's a very expensive undertaking. So please contribute if you can. Again, that's November the 16th, Saturday at the Henry J. Kaiser Center for Arts, 10th Street. Feed the Bay Laugh Fest. That being said, again, I want to say good afternoon to you, and I want to thank everybody for voting, and I want to thank America for being America. And what I mean by that is that I've been working on my website, and I thought that it would be historic in what we would be talking about, but it's historic. And again, I always tell folks, and if you followed me and understand my dialogue, this is 1619 on steroids. And we have to understand that. And I think that for me as an American, I've been under the delusion that this was a fair and equal process and we were all for the common good. Well, that's not the case. And we have to be okay with that. And I think that when you have a discussion about white privilege and 21% of African American men voting for a Republican candidate, then there is something happening with our psychology and who we are and how we've been traumatized and how we think and what do we think is fair and what is not fair. And so I have to say there's two systems in America now, and we have to accept that. Two legal systems, two financial systems. Again, I point everyone to the white paper in California on reparations. It has a whole dialogue, and this again is a return to that. I think that I've tried to explain and educate and kind of not take this personal, but in reality it is. It talks about my very existence as a human being on this planet and in this country. And so I have to be mindful of that. And because the things that are going to happen in the next few years are pretty diabolical. You just go read the 2025 paper about the playbook that they're going to enact now, literally without any kind of resistance. So I think it says, and understand the economy is humming along. So we hand this new administration a economy that has been working and has been dealing with inflation and has kept our prices what they are. Now, that being said, you can't have major conflicts with your partners, not be considered a reliable foreign partner. You can't have discussions with China, the second leading economy, that does not provide for a dialogue that allows you to have commerce with them. Because if you don't have commerce, everything we buy is going to go up unless we make it ourselves. And we're moving to a technological age when this particular administration is anti-science, anti-technological. That's clear. So, as I say, detonating your relationships as a world leader and not being reliable and not being honest and particular picking leadership that has questionable morals and values makes you suspect. We'll see how it works out. Amen twice. And so November, I want to talk about what's going on in November. And so I get a chance to do this because I like doing it. November, how we celebrate Native American Heritage Month. So November is Native American Heritage Month. This is the annual month-long celebration, is the opportunity to come together to honor and celebrate the cultural, traditions, history, and contributions of American Indians and Alaskan Natives. Isn't that great? That on this very onset of this new piece, we get to celebrate the original owners of what we call to be America, the folks that were here first. No mention of them, huh? Okay. Though Native Americans only make up 2.5% of the total U.S. population, their history and contributions are critical for the importance of the national history. This is from GBG chat. Unfortunately, much of it has been forgotten or overlooked. I wonder why. As a result, misconceptions about Native American history, about the original people that live here, are shrouded in ignorance and lies. Again, it's led to a perpetuation of harmful, misinformed celebrations, especially surrounding the Heritage Month and Thanksgiving holiday. November is an opportunity to grow our understanding of the Native culture, traditions, and how historical traumas like colonization and genocide have impacted Native peoples through the history. Again, it's historical. You need only to look back at history and find out what happens when these kinds of things happen. That's why there's a real discussion about what should be taught, because historically, history is history. It's not a good or a lie, an in or a bad. It's the history. It's what happened as they traveled and recorded. So if you don't like the way you've been documented as traveling and being recorded, well, you just either don't document it or you lie about it or you don't teach it, which is kind of sad. That means you dismiss a group's history. That being said, this month is important for each of us to remember that the entirety of the nation's history, including especially the history of Native Americans and the systemic issues they still face today, and take support of uplifting action to right historical justice. So I say, hey, learn something about Native Americans. You know, I try to stay up on my African American culture, but this kind of say I gotta learn more about the original owners of these United States and why they're not highlighted more in American lexicon. Would that be a history that you would want to talk about? Well, we got November, so I'm gonna probably do some more research on this because I think we need to kind of understand that the Native American experience is an experience that first brought America to America. Although the slave trade in 1619 were important, they get here and they don't survive the winter without Native American help. So I know that. They know that. And, you know, again, look up some of the resources and try to, you know, go put the search into Native American Month, you know, and, you know, learn something. Learn something about a different culture. You know, we've lost the ability to have discourse. We've lost the ability to understand history. So therefore, we have very, very narrow views of world view life. And when told the truth, we ignore it or are in denial about that. One more shout out. I want to thank the American white woman because, man, without her, he couldn't have been elected. This is the second time they've done this too, by the way. No discussion in the media about that, about the impact of white females on the vote. When you break it down, they're more worried about 21% of African Americans voting. No, that wasn't the issue. Anyway, as I'm told by Ms. Parker, the numbers don't seem right, but that's okay. I'm not going there. I think this is good because the veil needs to be taken off America, and America needs to be in the world stage for what it is, what it proposes to be, what it represents, who it wants to be, its leadership. And we'll see how that works out. So November is also National Homeless Youth Awareness Month. November was first declared as National Homeless Youth Awareness Month in 2007. Since November has been a time to acknowledge those children and families experiencing homelessness. As many as 2.5 million youth per year experience homelessness. And when I say homelessness, this is the whole genre and gender. We have a large LGBT community that is experiencing homelessness and a lot of suicide and a lot of trauma. It's a discussion that is sadly but true. This is a Believe Radio, 24-hour inspirational gospel music station. I want to thank Amology and Curtis, who got us set up here and had to do what he got to do. I appreciate that. I want to thank all the elected officials, the African American that ran, and if they lost, I'm quite pleased that they did their job as best they could, given the circumstances they had to work under. So, along with losing their home, community, friends, and routines, as well as their sense of stability and safety, many homeless youth also are victims of trauma while trying to survive the streets. Youth are exposed to countless dangers with an increased likelihood of substance abuse, early parenthood, impulsivity, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, and a variability to be trafficked. And a little bit about that post-traumatic stress disorder in a youth or in anyone is re-experiencing that trauma over again, being frightened in environments, not sure of themselves, nightmares. And I'm thinking about a young male who was raped in prison and just never did recover from it. So that is what happens when a youth goes homeless. That's what happens when an adult goes homeless. That's what happens when a person, a human being, goes homeless. And if you're older, it's more, because you're less able to defend yourself in those environments. And my work in primary care and family practice internal medicine and shelters has showed that out, and addiction centers has showed that out. The National Child Stress Network has compiled a list of helpful resources for parents and caregivers and children and teens and mental health providers. So again, that's the National Child Traumatic Stress Network. Put that in as a search. Has compiled a list of resources on parents and caregivers and children and teens and mental health providers and child welfare workers, juvenile justice professionals, and policymakers also. This is not a time to be complacent. We have to be involved. I had to consider whether I wanted to really continue doing this show, and I had no choice. I have to. It says that terror reigns when good men do nothing, or are silent, or both. That's what's happened. Now we have to deal with it. And in November there's a lot of good things going on. It's COPD Awareness Month, and I want to give a shout out to Dean Martin and my dad, James Pearson. And these two men had something in common. They were long-term tobacco users, and definitely had some respiratory injury, COPD probably, at least, and ended up dying of lung cancer. Now I'm in healthcare, and as I saw this play itself out, I realized that they were also men of their times. You may not be, or you may be old enough to think about this as a group of musicians and performers called the Rat Pack. It was Dean Martin, it was Frank Sinatra, it was Principal Sammy Davis Jr. In fact, there's a lot of stories around him, and the fact that when during that period of time, Sammy Davis Jr. could perform in the venues in Las Vegas, but he couldn't have a room. He couldn't get a place to sleep. He couldn't eat there, but he could perform. Again, where we're at, and this is not that long ago, 30, 40 years. And I think that the interesting thing about this group of men and my father was that these men fought for one another. My father was a very loyal man and very, if you were his friend, you were his friend for life. If you were his enemy, you were his enemy for life. So that's just a kind of aside about the kind of environment they were in and the kind of environment that breathed the kind of smoking that my father and those men did. So COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and let me say that that's the endpoint to tobacco use, or if it's a genetic piece, it's the endpoint to that trigger causing this type of lung disease in terms of destruction of the distal lung sacs called alveoli, where the exchanges of oxygen go between the blood and the oxygen, and so it removes waste products and puts oxygen in as a part of the clean of blood. So it's a really intricate process. So COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a term used to describe chronic lung diseases, and include emphysema, chronic bronchitis. The overarching symptoms is difficulty breathing. I would say also chest tightness, shortness of breath, fatigue, weight loss. They have a syndrome called blue bloaters and pink puffers. You know, they don't do all that now, and this is when only white people were going to the doctor anyway. A lot of the models up until that point in time were all white men. So, and some people with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, had experienced tiredness, chronic cough with mucus, and sometimes without. And so this is the history of COPD Awareness Month. COPD Awareness Month was established to address the increasing prevalence of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and its impact on public health. And I think one of the dynamics is the increase in women with chronic lung disease. When I first started practicing, women did not present like they're presenting now with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and lung diseases in general, and alcohol abuse issues in general. So this has been a discussion around, and this is a Virginia Slims commercial says, "You come a long way, baby. You sure have, because you got the diseases that your male counterparts got now." And that's because women are living longer too. So they're dealing with chronic disease, because I think the cutoff point that I understand is that, you know, the menstrual cycle is protective because there's an exchange and a production of hormones, particularly estrogen and progesterone. And those over the life of women tend to be protective in terms of blood pressure, blood sugar, that kind of thing. But after, but premenopausally and postmenopausally, they start losing that protection. And so they're at more risk. And so what we see is acceleration of heart disease, acceleration of pulmonary diseases, acceleration of stuff like diabetes, acceleration of cancers, you know, that kind of thing, and mood disorders. So COPD Awareness Month was established to address the increasing prevalence of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and its impact on public health. And understand that there's going to be an attack on public health. This is a discussion about that when science and education are the enemy, because they reveal the truth. This is supported by organizations, healthcare providers, and individuals affected by COPD who are committed to raising awareness and improving their lung health. And that's one of the things I want to do. I want to try to continue through the show to improve our awareness of all these things and how we can address them. The best thing with COPD is to stop smoking. Just the best thing you can do. In fact, I can't think of a condition medically that stopping smoking doesn't help unless you have a mental health disorder. And we see that folks with schizophrenia and sometimes bipolar tend to smoke more because it slows them down. But you deal with the anxiety, then you don't have to smoke. More habit. It's more male machismo macho and female machismo macho too. Over time, COPD Awareness Month has become a vital opportunity to promote lung health, encourage smoking cessation, and provide support and resources for individuals living with COPD. The best way is not to get it by not smoking. But If I had a dime for every person I said that to. Anyway, I don't smoke because I don't like the way it smells. I can remember my father's fingers smelling like tobacco. And unfortunately, the most unsexy thing for me is smelling when that smokes. It's just ugh, like yucko. But hey, to each his own. And hey, our old friend that's reared his ugly head. It's Diabetes Awareness Month, also November. And I had to go a little bit deeper. I had to ask myself, well, what's the physical and mental effects of elevated glucose in a large global macro scale and a micro level in the body? And here's what GPT Chat, this is Microsoft version, said. It said, elevated glucose levels often associated with conditions like diabetes can have a significant physical and mental effects on the body of both macro and micro levels. And so I'm bringing this up because the discussion is that it used to take us 10 years to diagnose a person with diabetes. Well, now it's pre-diabetes. So in a step further is to say the active elevated blood sugars that are vacillating up and down cannot be good for the body on a macro level or a micro level, nor for the person's mental health because of inflammation. So, physical effects, cardiovascular system. High glucose levels, I don't agree with that. Abnormal glucose levels can lead to arteriosclerosis, hardening of the arteries, increasing your risk of heart disease and stroke. They believe diabetes is an independent risk factor for heart attack and stroke. And what I mean by that is that when you have diabetes, even though you may have your diabetes controlled, you still have a risk of heart attack and stroke. So the better control, the lower your risk of, but you still have the risk of it. It's an independent risk factor. Kidneys. Diabetes can cause kidney damage, neuropathy, potentially leading to kidney failure. Nerves. Elevated glucose can damage nerves, neuropathy, causing pain, tingling, and loss of sensation, particularly in the extremities. Eyes. High blood pressure, high blood pressure too, but high blood sugar can damage blood vessels in the retina, called retinopathy, leading to vision problems or blindness. I think diabetes is the third leading cause of blindness, along with hypertension. And also adding there now, hyperlipidemia can cause blindness by affecting the vessels and nerves in the eye. That's why we want to decrease our sugar, decrease our salt, get more exercise, for a plant-based diet, more water, less sodas. I'm kind of loving ginger beer right now. Non-alcoholic. It's a great tasting beverage. So if I'm going to do a sugar beverage, I'll do a non-alcoholic ginger beer over ice. On the micro level, cellular damage. High glucose levels can cause oxidative stress and inflammation, damaging cells and tissues. And that's what we didn't know before. That's why diabetes takes 10 years for it to get to. When you're having nerve damage, kidney damage, you've had diabetes for a long, you've had elevated blood sugar for a long time. These things don't happen overnight. It takes about 10 years. And now with treatment, these things are being delayed even more because it doesn't get to a point where that person has an event, goes into diabetic ketoacidosis, where we see that in our type 1 undiagnosed diabetics, but usually we can, with treatment, delaying the major issues or slow them down. Not cure, slow them down. Insulin resistance. Chronic high glucose can lead to insulin resistance where cells no longer respond effectively to insulin, further exacerbating blood sugars. So again, insulin resistance means the insulin that you produce doesn't work for you in the way it should. And if it doesn't do that, then you have an elevation or spikes in your sugar because insulin is I call it this key to unlocking the cell and putting the sugar into the mitochondria of the cell energy packet cell for processing. That's why glucose is our most efficient source to provide us energy. On a macro level, mental effects. Cognitive function. Elevated glucose level can impair cognitive function, how we think, leading to difficulties in memory, attention, decision making. Mood disorders. High blood sugars can contribute to mood swings, anxiety, and depression. On a macro level, neurotransmitter imbalance. Oh, these are big words here. High glucose can cause effects that affect the nerve to tissue message, neurotransmitter. And if that's affected, you get more pain or no pain. You get understanding that you've got a cut or you bleed because you don't feel any pain. One of the biggest issues is in diabetics is decreased sensation of the feet, and when they step on something, they don't know it's in their foot. I've seen that literally. I removed a sliver from an individual who had stepped on I think a glass sliver, and I just looked at his foot and pushed, and the thing shot right out. Didn't even feel it. So, and because the neurotransmitter levels, it impacts mood and mental health. That's why folks that have chronic medical issues are a little bit more feisty, a little bit more kind of difficult sometimes because they're not feeling well. And the translation usually goes to the person closest to them. So if you're a caregiver or partner of, you just have to step back. Because if you were feeling that way, you would have some issues too. Stress response. Chronic high glucose can lead to a prolonged stress response, which means the body's on alert, right? Increasing cortisol levels and exacerbating mental health issues. Again, elevated blood sugar is not fun. It's not fun. Managing blood sugar, so how you do it? How you fix it? Managing blood sugar levels through diet, food choices, I say plant-based, exercise, and medication is crucial to mitigating these effects. Again, can't cure it once it starts in this process, but you can control and stabilize the process so that it doesn't affect your life. And if you're good about managing yourself and checking your blood sugars, you don't have episodes where your sugar's too high or too low, or that you have events. And so if you have any concerns or symptoms, you always, in all these things, you need to talk to your health professional. Have a discussion with them. COPD, all of it. And the theme of the American Diabetes Association this year is that November is American Diabetes Month. And at the American Diabetes Association, they recognize mothers and fathers and friends and children who live every day with diabetes or pre-diabetes. They fight for you. That's an interesting slogan. I like that. And they really appreciate the support to keep it going. And for the medical providers, we try to stay on the cutting edge, like doing shows like this and talking about the real-time discussions about diabetes. And we have to stay on top of these things because the literature is always changing. In fact, one of my primary resource sources is Up to Date. How you like that? That's the new name for it. And they still have Bates and a number of the other medical journals, American Medical Association, but it's usually Up to Date. And how do we define diabetes? Diabetes is a chronic medical condition that occurs when the body is unable to properly regulate blood glucose levels. This can happen due to insufficient insulin production or ineffective use of insulin, or both. Insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas and allows cells to absorb glucose from the bloodstream for energy. We are at about 3:45 almost, and I want to thank folks for tuning in to Believe Radio and 24-hour inspirational gospel station. I'm George Pearson. I'm a physician's assistant. Been practicing about 35 years in the community. My background is in internal medicine, family practice, and behavioral health. Went to Stanford in 1984, then did a degree program at UCSF, which I'm still paying for, by the way, in organizational behavior, because I wanted to understand systems change. That's what we're doing. I want to give a shout out to my son. Love him a lot. Hey, I tell you, hard heads, right? He'll get it together. he don't get it together in this game. So we want providers to stay on the cutting edge of diabetes care. Again, AmericanDiabetesAssociation.org. Go visit the site, see what you can do. Stand with folks that have diabetes. Insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas and allows cells to absorb glucose from the bloodstream for energy. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune condition, which means that the pancreas starts to destroy itself, and systemically it's an autoimmune condition, type 1, where the body's immune system attacks the insulin-producing beta cells in the pancreas. This leads to little or no insulin production, requiring individuals to take insulin injections or use an insulin pump for the rest of their lives. You have to treat type 1 diabetes with insulin, and it's for the rest of your life, unless they give you an artificial pancreas or something of that nature. Because the body's immune system attacks the pancreas and makes it dysfunctional. Anyway, type 2 diabetes, this occurs when the body becomes resistant to insulin or the pancreas fails to produce enough insulin. It's often associated with lifestyle factors as poor diet, lack of exercise, obesity, but genetic factors play a role. Type 2 diabetes is more common than type 1. I've seen more folks, but the interesting thing about it, as a type 2 diabetic, you may also have to go on insulin. That's why these new drugs like Wegovy and Jardiance, the SGLT2, GLP-1 drugs have been a boon to reducing A1Cs and also decreasing cardiac risk. Again, like anything else, though, you can't stop taking it. Because if you stop taking it, all the effects revert. So this is why lifestyle changes are important. And globally, in healthcare now are important. This is why exercise is important. This is why food choices are important as a foundation to improve one's care. So. And the last one, my mom's gestational diabetes. This type of diabetes develops during pregnancy when the body cannot produce enough insulin to meet the increasing needs. It usually resolves after childbirth, but increases the risk of type 2 diabetes later in life. So the take-home message for women that have gestational diabetes is that they have to watch out for a risk of having diabetes later in life when they become more sedentary, gain more weight, taking care of the grandkids. I love my grandkids. They're cute. The girls are good. Girls are good. Thank you, Kenyatta. Girls are good. And symptoms of diabetes, for those that aren't aware, can be excessive thirst, frequent urination, extreme fatigue, blurred vision, slow healing wounds. And managing diabetes typically involves a combination of medication, lifestyle changes, diet, and I want to get a special shout out to Rusty, who's in Sacramento and recovering. Thank you, Rusty, for being that person, lifelong friend, and also Miss Veronica Simrel, who is also recovering, also some major heart surgery. Send out her best, both of them, their best to family, and stay strong and hang on in there. It'll be okay. November is also Epilepsy Awareness Month. I didn't know that. Epilepsy is also known as a seizure disorder. It's a brain condition that causes recurring seizures. And this is important because the seizures disable people. And the more seizures people have, the more it affects their brain. So it's like shaking their brain every 5-10 minutes. And it messes with their ability to think, to work, to drive, to function normally. I had a couple where the husband had seizures right in front of the wife, and she had to, respond. They were having like a storybook family till it started. I think he's doing fine now, but just you have to be aware and get help. There are many types of epilepsy, and some people that can be identified. Others, the cause unknown, which is kind of really interesting. You send the person to a neurologist. They do the ECG. The ECG shows 3 spikes per second, I think it is, and it shows that the person has seizures, and you don't know why. No drugs, no alcohol. Don't have a family history of having seizures. That's why it's important to talk to your health professionals to get help. Don't suffer. Epilepsy is common. It's estimated that 1.2 people in the United States have active epilepsy, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Epilepsy affects people of all genders, races, and ethnic backgrounds and ages. Seizure symptoms can vary widely. Some people have loss of awareness during a seizure, while others don't. Some people stare blankly for a few seconds during a seizure, petit mal seizure. Epilepsy affects people of all genders, races, and ethnic backgrounds and ages. Seizure symptoms can vary widely. Some people have loss of awareness during a seizure, while others don't. Some people stare blankly for a few seconds during a seizure, and others may repeatedly twist their arms, legs, and movements known as convulsions. Having a single seizure doesn't mean you have epilepsy. Epilepsy is diagnosed if you have at least 2 unprovoked seizures at least 24 hours apart. Unprovoked seizures don't have a clear cause. Treatment with medicines or sometimes surgery can control seizures for most people with epilepsy. Some people require lifelong treatment. For others, seizures go away. Some children with epilepsy may outgrow the condition as they age. November is Epilepsy Awareness Month, or NEMA, and purple is the color. That's why I'm wearing this tonight. It's also for pancreatitis, and hopefully we'll get to that. We're at 4:42. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and watching. Thanks to Facebook family. Appreciate y'all. I want to again thank Dr. Lenore and having a good conference, and we'll see him when he gets back. Again, we're going to be launching a media piece. Talk to Edie Okamoto, who's going to be helping with the website. Appreciate that. Everybody for hanging in there. We got to get through this. We will. So November is National Epilepsy Month, NEA. It's a call to action to share the purple power. See? The year's theme celebrates unwavering strength, resilience, and courage of epilepsy warriors, alongside with families, caregivers, and advocates. The NEA, we are focusing on key themes of awareness to support the epilepsy community: belonging, creating supportive and inclusive community; strength, celebrating the resilience of those impacted by epilepsy; change, driving progress through education and advocacy; and impact, making meaningful difference by raising awareness and breaking down stigmas. Together, we can build a more inclusive, supportive, and empowered community, ensuring that no one faces epilepsy alone. Here's some facts about epilepsy. 1 in 10 people will have a seizure, and 1 in 26 will develop epilepsy during their lifetime. There are 3.4 million living with epilepsy in the United States. 470,000 of them are children. Epilepsy is a neurological disorder that can affect any one of us, regardless of race, age, or gender. Seizures are a symptom of epilepsy. Not all seizures are the same. Many people with epilepsy have more than one type of seizure. That's why they need to see a neurologist. Misunderstanding and misinformation about seizures contribute to a continuing feeling of stigmatization and negative outcomes for people with epilepsy. People with epilepsy may experience felt stigma, which leads to a shame about their condition and fear of discrimination if they talk about it. And then we'll see how it goes now. Felt stigma was linked to higher seizure frequency, younger age of epilepsy onset, or longer duration and lack of knowledge about epilepsy at a younger age. Felt stigma can reduce the quality of life even when seizures are well controlled, and stigma can, it don't matter. They don't have, it just, stigma is the pot that boils and stirs the cup that makes you not want to talk about it, that makes you not want to deal with it, that makes you frightened of it. That's stigma. America, huh? And, well, I said that Dean Martin and my dad had a lot in common. And they both died of lung cancer. And again, association between Dean Martin and my father, the Rat Pack and lung cancer, both my father and Dean Martin passed. They were important men in my life, important men in his life. They were the men of cool. So the Rat Pack, they wore suits and they drank and they hung out all night and gambled and just were just crazy. And with that discussion in that Rat Pack, that's why I like Frank Sinatra and his music. My dad gave me appreciation of that. And he emulated these men in his dress and his jewelry, and I like to think I've taken on some of those things too with him. And just a shout out to my stepdad too. He wasn't my stepdad to me, he's my father. I have more life lessons from my stepdad than I did from my father, but those more life lessons came later with me and my dad as adults. Lung cancer is the kind of cancer that starts and grows in the cells of the lungs or two spongy organs in the chest that control breathing. Lung cancer is a leading cause of deaths worldwide. People who smoke have the greatest risk of lung cancer. The risk of lung cancer increases with the length of time and number of cigarettes smoked. Quitting smoking even after smoking for mere years significantly lowers the chance of developing lung cancer. Lung cancer can also be in people who have never smoked. We see that the Asian females that are getting lung cancer must be either working or partners. Although my dad and Dean Martin had lung cancer in common, what they didn't have is quitting. Dean Martin was able to quit in the later of his life. My dad was not able to stop. November, during Lung Cancer Awareness Month, the American Cancer Association Lung Force initiated a driving and critical awareness about lung cancer. This is from this website. Lung Force is working to end the devastating disease of the release of the annual State of the Lung Cancer Report, promotion of life-saving lung cancer screening. And so standard between 15 and 20 years, or if you're still smoking for 15 years, you need to have lung screens. I send my clients to pulmonologists because I want to make sure that there may be an underlying lung disease from smoking that needs to be picked up, as like COPD, like bronchitis. Again, and just enforce the fact that you need to stop smoking. Lung cancer is a disease that can impact anyone, and no one deserves it, said Harold Wimmer, President and CEO of the American Lung Cancer Association. While it remains the leading cause of cancer deaths in the U.S., we have seen incredible progress. The survival rate has increased by 44% in the last decade. And awareness is growing, but we need to be we need to do more to save lives. And again, that awareness really needs to be translated to females. I think what's happening now is more females are developing lung cancer, along with breast cancer. Another thing you got to deal with, right? The importance of early detection of lung cancer through lung screening. Lung cancer screening is a critical tool in detecting the disease early. When which is when it is most treatable. If lung cancer is caught before it spreads to other parts of the body, in which it did to my dad, the chance of surviving 5 years or more increases 64%. Individuals 50 to 80 who currently smoke or have quit within the last 15 years or still smoking may be eligible for screening. People can see if they're eligible for lung cancer screening by taking a 2-minute quiz at savebythescan.org. Again, you can see if you need to have lung screenings and by talking to your provider in a quiz called Save by the Lung Scan. And insurance companies are paying for this now. Advancement in biomarker testing and treatment. By identifying DNA and protein type of tumors, physicians can match patients with targeted therapies that can slow or even shrink tumors. Testing with the PD-L1 protein in particular helps determine whether immunotherapy may be an effective treatment, which we didn't have before. My dad had lung cancer, he had lung cancer, that was it. Now they can pinpoint the tumor and the type of therapy would be effective for that type of tumor cell pattern. 2024 marks a decade since Lung Force was established and the first national movement to unite those impacted by lung cancer and their caregivers. To learn more about that, visit lungforce.org. And again, a shout out to the caregivers of those with any kind of type of chronic illness. Without them, that person's quality of life diminishes twofold. And it's got another 10 minutes. And my last subject of the day is pancreatic cancer. It's in November. Another purple, another person close and dear to my heart. My mom passed of pancreatic cancer. She's a feisty woman with a good feisty. She said I was during my bullying period. Oh yeah, I got bullied, but I ain't getting bullied now. She said I was the prettiest baby in Oakland. And I used to look at her like, what is she talking about? But that was what a mother does. A mother gives love and hope. And that's what my mom did. Give it out in large portions to everybody. And so November is pancreatic cancer month. And it's pancreatic cancer is a type of cancer that begins as a growth of the cells in the pancreas. The pancreas lies behind the stomach, and it makes an enzyme that helps digest food and hormones that help manage blood sugar. Key. And it produces a couple other hormones too, but most importantly, insulin hormone. Pancreatic cancer is really found in its early stages when the cancer curing is its greatest. This is because it doesn't cause symptoms until after it's spread to other organs, and my mom never complained. It was only later when the cancer kind of progressed, it was painful for us as a family. So that's what I'm talking about in honor of her, and the fact that sometimes you go get screened, get tested. It's a family issue, genetically, you screen tested. One of the biggest issues again is, and my mom was a teetotaler. She may have a glass of wine every other day or something like that. What is alcohol? So one of the things that tend to, because what I can see from alcohol sugar in your body produces insulin to address that sugar, but it's not used to having that toxin of ethanol to process. And that's where the problem comes, And she's a small woman too. So pancreatic cancer is really found in early stages. It's because it doesn't cause something to it spread to other organs. Your healthcare team considers the extent of your pancreatic cancer when creating a treatment plan. The treatment options may include chemotherapy, radiation, or therapy, or a mix of those. Many people have little knowledge of the pancreas function and where it is located in the body. When patients are diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, they often ask, what does my pancreas do? And it's the third leading cause of cancer and death in America. Pancreas strikes men and women in equal numbers. It's difficult to diagnose early, and that was a problem. We just didn't know. Just didn't know. Yeah. Despite the challenge of the disease, a variety of diagnostic tools and treatment options now exist because they didn't when my mom developed pancreatic cancer. Um, I want to again give a shout out to my mom. And if you have questions about these things, see your health professional. And I want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in, tuning out. And we've got about 5 minutes. My goodness. Hey, one more. And then again, I want to put a shout out to the Feed the Bay Laugh Fest on Earl. Thank you very much. I hope this works out. Give me a call. Text me. It's going to be at the Henry J. Kaiser Center for the Arts on 10th Street, Oakland, California. Calvin Simmons Theater. All right. It's going to be November the 16th. Go out and have a laugh. You know, there's going to be Mario Hodge and Rudy Ortiz and the DJs Billy Valdale. The other folks on are Tristan Johnson, Jerry Law, She Sugar. She's the only female, so maybe you might really, check it out just because she's all these men. So give the sister some support. Jerry Curry, Frankie Marcos, and again, this is Earl Productions, and benefiting the Alameda County Food Bank. Again, that's what this is about. That's the only reason I would advertise it. Alameda County Food Bank. Give them a laugh. So the last one of the day is, do you know what Derkham's disease is? I didn't know. Derkham's disease, or adiposis dolorosa. It's the November Awareness Month. Derkham's disease is known as adiposis dorsala. It's a rare condition characterized by the presence of multiple painful fat deposits under the skin. Again, didn't know that. Under dermatology, right? Hey, the condition can occur in both. Well, the issue is that sometimes you might confuse it with a lymphoma or a fat tumor, but fat tumors characteristically aren't painful and they're not that many. And this is all over the body, so you have to definitely see the dermatologist as well as infectious disease probably. The condition can all occur in both men and women, but is commonly found in middle-aged women. The exact cause of Derkham's disease is not fully understood, but it's thought to be related to a dysfunction of the nervous system. The fatty growths can occur anywhere on the body and are mostly found on the arms, legs, and trunk. Symptoms of Derkham's disease can include the development of multiple soft fatty lumps that are painful to touch. The lumps can vary in size and can be accompanied by fatigue, weakness, and depression. In some conditions, they also lead to joint pain, mobility problems, and difficulty sleeping. The diagnosis of Derkham's disease is typically based on the presence of characteristic symptoms, physical examination, and an MRI. Treatment is symptomatic. I didn't know that. Derkham's, huh? And I don't know, but this is Dr. Turkey Month. I don't know what we can do about that one. It's November, right? Plant-based. Gee, I want to thank you for tuning in to Education is Best Medicine. Ms. Howard is going to be back in another week. I have one more show next week, and then I'm done for November. I want to thank you for tuning in and tuning up and coming up and shouting out and going to vote and supporting everything you support. They say that a person without knowledge of themselves is like a tree with no roots. Let's continue to educate ourselves and grow and be the best people we can be given the current state of affairs. I know I'm not going to stop. I can't take a next level down. I always have to move and keep progressing up. Let's all move up, progress up together. Again, I want to thank my Facebook family. I want to thank everyone that tunes in, and I really appreciate your support. Please have a great one. We'll see you next week.